Thank you for joining our post-Conf 2025 webinar, where we'll talk to y'all about observing and securing SAP like never before, and the rise of real-time observability with Splunk for SAP. For our agenda today, we're going to kick off with what I learned at Conf 2025, and then of course do an introduction to who RHONDOS is, excuse me, talk about some of the challenges in legacy SAP monitoring, review the 5 motivations for securing and observing SAP, and then of course introduce to all of you PowerConnect for Splunk. Our speakers today are Brian Bates, the Senior Director of Go-to-Market Strategy at RHONDOS, and Herman Macedo, our Director of Sales here at RHONDOS as well. And so with that, let's go ahead and kick it off with what I learned at Conf. There we go. Did anybody else see this this procession? This was a fun procession. Got to kick it off. Guys, Conf was so much fun, and it's so great to see so many familiar faces on this call today. Thank you so much for coming back and stopping by the booth with us. I just want to talk to you a little bit about some of the things that stood out in terms of what we learned at Conf this year. First is that AI agents are changing the game. You know, Splunk showed agents that actually do triage and troubleshooting for you. And for SAP, that means when PowerConnect sends telemetry into Splunk, those same agents can eventually help cut through SAP noise and speed resolution. And second, that Cisco and Splunk are laying the machine data fabric. This is the unified backbone for on-prem, cloud, and edge data. And with PowerConnect, SAP is no longer a data island. It actually becomes part of that fabric, giving customers end-to-end visibility. And the third thing is that observability now includes AI itself. So Splunk is adding monitoring for GPUs and large language models and AI agents, and that's big for SAP because companies embed AI into supply chain or finance processes, and we, with PowerConnect, can ensure that those AI-driven SAP workloads stay observable and resilient. So, you know, that was a very quick overview because I want to let y'all hear from Brian and Herman today. But, you know, in 60 seconds, what we learned: AI agents, a unified data fabric, and observability for AI. And with SAP and through PowerConnect, it's all fully part of that future. So I will go ahead and hand it over to Herman to talk about who we are and a little bit more.
Great, thanks, Shelley. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Herman Macedo, Director of Sales for RHONDOS. We're here to talk about how organizations are getting real visibility into SAP, reducing risk, and solving problems faster. So we're going to be walking you through examples, talking about how, you know, what works in the real world, leave plenty of time for questions. So who's RHONDOS? So RHONDOS is the exclusive distributor of PowerConnect, and what that means is simple. It's the only SAP certified add-on that can extract telemetry from SAP and stream it into Splunk. And you know, here's what it unlocks and delivers. As you can see on the right-hand side, it cuts SAP monitoring costs by 50%. They resolve issues 70% faster, and the experience of 30% fewer critical P1 and P2 incidents and compliance audits that used to take weeks, now take minutes. Finally, our support, that sets us apart. Every single customer you see there chooses premium support because they know they can reach us in 30 seconds or less. And that level of responsiveness builds trust, and that trust creates stickiness. Next slide, please.
Oh, 1 second here. There you go.
Great. And here's a story that brings it home. Disney uses PowerConnect to monitor SAP systems so that the global supply chain doesn't grind to a halt. That real world impact at the enterprise scale. Finally, our support sets us apart. Like I said, as I mentioned, every single customer chooses us for the right reasons, and for those reasons that we can reach them in a very timely manner. Next slide, please. So what does it look like in practice? Legacy monitoring takes an army. Dozens, sometimes hundreds of experts are siloed into their own piece of SAP. The result is really fragmented data. So finance has their logs, basis has theirs, infrastructure has theirs, but no one has the full picture. And when something breaks, you're piecing together evidence like detectives solving some sort of a crime. And that makes time to insight painfully slow. By the time you figured it all out, payroll's delayed, shipments are stalled, maybe the sky is on fire, your nose fell off. Okay, that's not SAP's fault, but the business disruptor here is real. And here's the heart of it. Outages aren't just technical problems, they're business problems. Yet legacy tools stay focused on the technical layer. Even where metrics exist, they lack context. Alerts don't connect to the bigger story. So, in summary, silos, fragmentation, slowness, misalignment, and tools without context, it's a perfect recipe for blind spots. That's where the gaps, we're here to close. Brian, I'd really like you to take maybe a walk at showing us a little bit about what IT maybe looks at when they talk about entanglements, and show us a little bit about that friction we can avoid.
100%, Armand. And thanks for that introduction. Hey, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, where you're at today. I'd like to zoom out for a little bit and describe this snapshot of today's enterprise IT. And this isn't hypothetical. This is real across industries. Like in this example of an energy and utilities company. 20 years ago, there was this single monolithic business application in the center of a data center that processes everything required to reconcile, in this example, energy generation, consumption, customer billing, customer support. However, even legacy companies have evolved into increasingly complex silos by spinning up these applications that cater and are bespoke to the line of business. And IT is left wiring all of those third-party applications back into the core. So perhaps HR and the field service team purchased RHONDOS for time management. Online payments are now supporting the consumer credit card payments to the utilities company, which requires third-party API access and integration. And the company may have diversified into trading energy credits with these cloud native services. But, perhaps the compliance team's still using that Excel workbook and Excel spreadsheet paired with some legacy DB2 database in a back office somewhere. It's messy, it's complicated, and more experts are retiring. Monitoring tools that look into each piece of this puzzle, the problem is they lack the contextual awareness across the entire broader holistic supply chain. And yet SAP remains at the core and usually a black box to the enterprise IT and security teams. And so this is why we believe that observability is no longer just this buzzword swirling around different tech coming to market, but we believe it's a necessary evolution that enterprises have to take when monitoring your end-to-end supply chain. All of those fragmented tools Armand was talking about, we need to bring all of those alerts together into one place so that everyone sings from the same sheet of music and can get on with their day. And so that's why we absolutely love Splunk for this. Those modern silos and entanglements require modern solutions to normalize all of this data and to make it actionable. And Splunk is that best platform to accomplish that. Perhaps you already have some Splunk in your company. I can't see your hands or if you raise your hands, but maybe you've got a little bit of Splunk somewhere, or maybe your network team or your security operations center already has like a standardized Splunk deployment. Maybe you're using a little bit of IT service intelligence or enterprise security. But the reality is, without SAP data, without that black box data, you're never going to deliver end-to-end supply chain observability to your stakeholders. And that supply chain awareness requires investigation deep into the transactional layer, into the core of the business applications. If you were at Conf, you know this already. Splunk can ingest any type of data at any scale. And then once the data is into the platform, the exclusive schema on the fly technology makes searching through this data as easy as a Google search. So when you're working with your SAP experts, or maybe you're working with your security team and someone says, I'm looking for audit data, I think it's called SM20, just ask Splunk. Splunk's search engine will find that relevant data you're looking for and represent it in a time series format. And then those use cases are extended with trending analytics, big data analytics, the machine learning toolkit, if you've heard about this, and then alerting and bidirectional integration with ITSM tools or other integrations like PagerDuty or Slack. Splunk's available on-prem or as a SaaS, and the PowerConnect app for Splunk kickstarts the value with over 700 dashboards and use cases out of the box on day one. This dashboard shown here on the slide, this is a day one deliverable when you deploy the PowerConnect app for Splunk, and all of those metrics are related to your SAP application. So that kind of turns the last 20 years of silo monitoring and best of breed tooling kind of on its head. And so you might be asking yourself, Brian, you've name dropped these different premium products like IT, service intelligence, and enterprise security. What is this Power Connect solution addressing? Like, which line item am I replacing? Which tool am I replacing? And that's just the key factor here. This is a platform. And so we accomplish holistic observability across what we call the 5 motivations for securing and observing SAP. It's not just a security tool, it's not just a performance tool. By getting full fidelity data out of SAP and bringing it alongside the rest of your enterprise data, we can accomplish all 5 of these verticals or each of these domains. So your security team, the analytics around key threat actors within your environment don't stop at the core application, because login access monitoring, insider threat, user behavior analytics, anomalous behavior within your T codes in SAP, all of that data is coming into Splunk now. And so now you can see those threat actors, or maybe you fat fingered something in that T code. Your security operations team gets full fidelity access to that and correlation searches to follow. Your compliance team, get rid of those Excel spreadsheets, get rid of those legacy databases. Let Splunk be the system of record. Splunk can retain data for as long as you need it for your use case, which means the compliance data can be retained for those 7-year requirements, and it's certified and accredited so that your auditing firms can access that data immediately, and more importantly, alert you when you're out of compliance before that end of quarter report. Performance. This is big in the SAP world. There's a lot of folks migrating. We're seeing the sunset of ECC. We're seeing Solution Manager come to a close. And what's most important that our customers ask us about is root cause analysis. When you get full fidelity data and you get historical analytics unlocked by SAP, or unlocked by Splunk, excuse me, what happens is you can alert to the event before it happens, and then after the event, do a tabletop exercise, and you're not losing those anomalies in with the average data. You get the key statistics, correlation to infrastructure, and end user experience monitoring. Doesn't matter where your users are. They could be across the globe. They could be using different terminals. They could be somewhere in a Fiori migration. We can monitor all of that. And then from a functional perspective, business process monitoring, as you start to migrate your business processes, say you're migrating from PIPO over to CPI, and you have certain integrations, you can validate those end-to-end processes in the migration process, and you can validate your supply chain by keying in on specific bespoke data for your enterprise. So, for example, you can key in on work orders or purchase orders or key identities that are specific to your supply chain. And then with migration, just like everything else, maybe you're migrating a workload from on-prem to a public cloud. Maybe you're migrating ECC over to S/4HANA Cloud in their private cloud edition. When you deploy PowerConnect for Splunk, you can see the before, during, and after effects, and you can provide that data validation back to your board to say this was worthwhile, the investment. And so everyone asks, well, how is that even possible? There's a bunch of tech out there. How can you do this? This must be like really complicated. The truth is, it's actually quite simple. This is a bit of a technical diagram. Hopefully, we have some hands-on keyboard folks in the crowd today that'll get some meaning out of this. PowerConnect is installed directly within the NetWeaver layer, and so that's your application server layer. When it's installed there, PowerConnect intercepts and extracts any kind of data element that can be processed through transactions while giving the customer exclusive authority to restrict which data you don't want to see. So any of that private data that needs to be retained within SAP, you have exclusive control over that. There's no external access to the PowerConnect technical add-on, zero. It is a push-only technology using the onboard ICM within the SAP app server layer to push data directly to Splunk Cloud. This means there's no like third-party APIs. We're not making any remote RFC calls. Nothing external to your core business app is accessing. So your security team doesn't have to create some new weird permissions, and you don't have to add some level of monitoring to this external access. It lives within the core and pushes out only directly to the HTTP event collector in Splunk. This diagram shows an example of Splunk Cloud, but we support both Splunk Cloud and on-prem. And because we integrate into the application server layer, we actually don't care where it's hosted. So this could be in your data center, it could be in your own cloud, it could be in a private cloud, public cloud, doesn't matter at all. At the top of that diagram, you'll see these 3 little batch jobs. That's really all that it takes. And those 3 batch jobs handle data extraction, timestamping, and then data forwarding. And then a third batch job is actually a self-healing component. And this is really, really important. PowerConnect is differentiated in the market by having an exclusive self-healing element, which means if any data extraction or forwarding step hangs, periodically that third batch job will review and evaluate that process and will restart it automatically. So you're not left with a technical add-on, or sometimes called an agent, just sitting there hanging. It will automatically restart, and you'll get the feedback over at Splunk to say that happened. That hamburger stack, if you will, it's a little small, but you can see these kind of esoteric names there: ST06, SM04, SM20. All of the data that's extracted is rolled into elements that are named after the T code you would typically use. So if you were looking at, say, your CPU or memory, working with your basis engineers, that would be an ST06 data element. And this helps onboard your people in using Splunk now that you're visualizing SAP data within Splunk. And it's continuous across over 300 extractors that are out of the box day one. But we don't stop there, right? The extraction framework is entirely extensible, where most other technologies out there will say, hey, this is what we can do, and if you want more, perhaps we can co-develop, we'll add it to the roadmap. The extensible extraction framework means that your last mile SAP implementation, however bespoke or custom it is, the extraction framework can be customized to retrieve any custom T code, any custom element, any custom table. So all of those Z components, as they're called, PowerConnect can be used and customized. This is stuff that you own, that you manage completely within your environment. For those on the call that are running HANA currently, all of your HANA mini checks can be deployed directly from PowerConnect, and along with any SQL query to hit the database, any custom tables whatsoever. Why is this important? All of your data is normalized at PowerConnect, and when it's sent over to Splunk, no TA is required to transform the data. It's ready to go. It's searchable day one. Your app is online. And then for the security folks and for those who want to make sure it's safe, yep, everything's encrypted. It's shipped over using the latest TLS certifications or certificates, hits your HEC, good to go. So quick recap here. We're nerding out and we're having fun. So this thing is performant to terabytes daily per system. We've implemented this. It is battle tested to hundreds of servers without latency or loss. That's because it's not a dumb data forwarder. Each data extractor is tuned based on the data we're sending. Stats will be sent in milliseconds, whereas user inventory, maybe it's sent once a week. Hundreds of dashboards are included within the app on day one. The dashboard over to the right is what you can expect, which is your CIO is no longer hamstrung with only network data. Now you get full visibility into the database layer, the application server, and your front end GUI within that SAP S/4HANA. And then in terms of consumption, agent is a 4-letter word. No one likes to hang another agent on their technology. All of those batch jobs, for those SAP experts in the classroom today, they're Class C batch jobs, which means if for whatever reason you start running low on resources, those jobs will start to fall off first. But you're already going to know that because you're going to see the trend line and the predictive analytics coming into Splunk. So you're going to know that's creeping up. All right, so that's cool. That's how the tech works. That's how we actually get the data out. It comes over into Splunk, but who's using this and why? Let's talk about a real world example. So on our YouTube channel at Conf over the last almost decade that RHONDOS has been around, PowerConnect's been deployed for over a decade as a technology. We have hours and hours and hours of customers talking about their use cases. I'd like to share one of those with you today. So your particular business should be built on the best customer experience, but we all know that doesn't happen magically. Behind the scenes of every online web order, there are dozens and hundreds of interactions between what the user sees on their screen when they click and then how the business systems prepare to process an order. So in this real life customer example, what we did is we used Splunk IT Service Intelligence to overlay business KPIs with technical KPIs across the entire order to ship process. So from the moment a customer places an order back to the warehouse or distribution center that needs to execute that pick, pack, ship operation, PowerConnect is used to extract business specific details from the order and the warehouse management tables, which were bespoke to this particular client. Nothing was turnkey out of EWM or ECC here. Once that business context is ingested into Splunk in real time, this operational dashboard, which spans 8 different areas, lights up with indicators and predictive trending to alert to potential problems. So what does that mean? That's a lot of technical jargon. Well, what that means is no longer are those trouble tickets simply, hey, the warehouse order wasn't received, customer shipment delayed, but specifically which interface failed, what transaction didn't get completed, where was there a short dump in the ABAP, or what table didn't have the required data to process the order. So now your entire team root cause analysis is kickstarted by engaging the appropriate functional team right from the beginning, rather than just some generic ticket that says order didn't get processed. And in a lot of cases, you're getting the team activated to troubleshoot before the incident even occurs. There's so much data within SAP that's ephemeral, meaning your practitioners who are using T-codes to monitor or investigate, they're going to see a different state every time they refresh the screen. When you timestamp that data and bring it into Splunk, you can now trend that data over time. You don't lose your anomalies. Your anomalies are there to be investigated, and your anomalies are there to alert you before the problem actually occurs. So let's go in a little bit into the tech. Armand, do you want to walk through kind of how a customer would kind of approach this problem and how, depending on where a customer is in their journey, both from observability and security might get started?
Sure. So as you observe this slide, it's our experience that most SAP teams that we've talked to are stuck in a reactive stage. And they're chasing logs, they're arguing with the network team, or they're trying to piece things together after the fact. And that's really the reality. What we do with PowerConnect is we help you move along this curve. Instead of fighting fires, you get visibility, you get context, and alerts that really matter to you. You can cut mean time to resolution by 70% and get out of that firefighting mode. The maturity model, Brian, for our audience, isn't about being perfect, right? It's about progress. And I think the real question that would ask our audience is, where does your leadership expect you to be next year? What happens if you don't get there? And I think this maturity model kind of illustrates that progress that, again, isn't perfect, but that would need to be made. And if we move over to the next slide,
Oh, yeah.
we can talk about also the security maturity, which most organizations have. They have a roadmap, and they're moving from basic logging into monitoring, then into correlation, and eventually automation and response. Again, the question is, where does SAP fit in this model? The reality is it actually doesn't. It usually doesn't. SAP is a blind spot, right? So the SOC can see the network, the servers, the endpoints, but not SAP. And yet SAP is where the crown jewel is. Finance, payroll, supply chain, that's where it lives. So while the rest of your environment is moving up through security maturity curve, SAP is stuck at zero. No logs, no correlation, no monitoring. The gap is what attackers exploit, and it's what auditors call out. So what PowerConnect does is it closes the gap. It streams SAP into telemetry into Splunk, and in the same format, your SOC already understands. Now, SAP isn't the blind spot anymore. It's part of the enterprise security fabric. So again, the question I'd ask for our audience to think about, if the rest of your business is moving up the maturity model, how much longer can you afford to leave SAP behind? Next slide. So PowerConnect is a fully certified certified by SAP across all key environments, on-premise, cloud, RISE. What this means for you is simple. We're officially recognized and approved to be in your SAP landscape. This isn't experimental, it's a validation certified solution. That certification gives you the confidence that we're not only allowed to be here, but that will operate reliably within your environment. Next slide. And one of the most important differentiators for us is that we don't just sell a license and walk away. Too many vendors hand you the software and say, good luck, right? So our team is cross-certified, not just in PowerConnect, but in SAP and Splunk. That means we have the expertise to work alongside your team to ensure that this gets implemented successfully. We've done this with enterprise customers, as you probably saw in our beginning slide, across many different industries. So we know how to navigate the complexity and help you operationalize not just the install, but the solution. Brian, and Shelly, I want to open it up to any questions anybody else would like to share with us. And also, Brian, anything else you'd like to add on this specific slide as well?
I think you nailed it, Armand. Here's the thing. Rondos lives and breathes within this like niche, right? When you go out to the market and you're looking for, CIO of a typical, Fortune 2000 company, CIO, CFO, they tend to look for SAP consultants or Splunk consultants, and you're going to find a pretty good pool of either of those competencies. And we've built a company here at Rondos where we take SAP experts and then we'll train them on Splunk and vice versa. And this makes an incredibly valuable type of competency for customers out there with observability on their roadmap, and for customers who are getting serious about integrating SAP into their SOC. And there's a couple of different ways that we can deploy those services. First of all, they're not required at all. We do have some customers who love the technology, and the out-of-the-box use cases and correlation searches are sufficient, ready to go. Let's go day one. Sometimes, like that real-world customer example that I gave earlier, there were a lot of custom elements within their supply chain, and what they needed is two particular competencies. Was one, working with the basis and functional teams to ensure the data was validated, and two, was ensuring the data was represented in Splunk correctly and that the machine learning toolkit was tuned to enable predictive analytics. And those can be deployed in a couple of different ways. Ultimately, we want to map the way that we work alongside where the customer is and the way the projects are rolling out. So we differentiate ourselves from the big SIs. No, you're not stuck until landing someone for, 3, 6, 9 months at a time. RHONDOS on Demand is our premier offering where we can deploy resources as needed according to your roadmap. Every customer loves them. And of course, for those who are ready to completely retool their enterprise monitoring standard, we can perform staff augmentation. But again, it's ultimately up to you. Our job is to remain the absolute experts in this space. We're the experts in this technology that delivers time-stamped SAP data to Splunk, and we're really excited to work with you on your next project. So with that, this is a QR code. Our wonderful Sarah has set this up so that we don't have to bore you anymore with the pitch. Let's set up a custom demo. We maintain live SAP and Splunk environments, including ITSI and enterprise security. So if you're done with the marketing and you're ready to get your hands on the technology, come use our demo systems. I'll be happy to walk you through how to use it, walk you through all of the details and the data. Maybe you want to do a deep dive into some of the other customer examples. Happy to do that with you. Just let us know, schedule your demo here. You can also see us at ASUG Tech Connect. So we're going to be on site. We're sponsoring a booth first week of November. Super excited to see you all there if you're going to attend. Make sure to follow us on YouTube. We're posting videos all the time.